Hello everyone. We have participants joining in, so we shall wait for another 5 minutes to begin the session, please. Thank you. Hello everyone. We have participants joining in, so we shall wait for another 5 minutes to begin the session, please. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Vayati System. I'm Pallavi, Principal Associate, your host for today's session. After overwhelming response to our previous two talks, we are back with third episode of VSR Imaginal Talk series on learning and skills development. And to initiate the conversation, we have wonderful delegates with us. Dr. Mona Shah, our founder and director, also author of the amazing book, Millennials Poised to Lead, a best-selling book on Amazon. And now it's time to introduce our guest. We have young and highly dynamic personalities on our show today. Mr. Aditya Oza, co-founder and chief marketing officer at Emotrad, and Mr. Kunal Gupta, CEO at Emotrad. I'm sure this evening will not only be an interesting one, but also packed with a lot of takeaways. So without further delay, let's proceed to hear today's imaginal talk. Over to you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me, good evening to our guests and all the audience who have joined in. Let's go ahead with this because there are going to be lots of questions, I think, for Kunal and Aditya, and and I would have a few too if time permits. So let me introduce you. As usual, we do this. We introduce you to the idea behind this talk series. It is conceived to offer very personal perspectives about the role learning has played in the lives of our guests. As an academic, I see firsthand, and as all of us know, the whole idea of learning, which is undergoing a radical change. There is so much that is thought, spoken, written, experienced, questioned, and planned in policies that it has left the whole world in a conundrum about its relevance and utility. This talk series is dedicated to deconstructing and understanding this very change. Many ask me about why we named the talk Imaginal. What is Imaginal? Imaginal is the last stage after which the caterpillar transforms into a butterfly. We also know it as the pupa stage. The entire metamorphosis of the butterfly is an almost magical process, rarely found elsewhere in the world of living species. For one, the different forms in the metamorphosis are distinct from one another, so distinct that while in a particular stage, it would be difficult to imagine how the next form would appear for those who see it from the outside. And do you know, this stage-wise development is also completely lost on the butterfly. It does not remember how it looked when it was a caterpillar, and neither does the caterpillar know how it would look in future when it becomes a butterfly. Miraculous, isn't it? In all my 3 decades and more as a professor and a strong proponent of all things educational, I frequently came across the lines being repeated from learners. They went something like this. We never really learn anything while in school. It is only when we experience the hard knock of reality that we really learn. Much like the caterpillar, which has no clue what it will become in the future, most of us go through learning not knowing how exactly it had been designed to help us grow into useful and beautiful individuals in society. Interestingly, though, this view on learning held by multitudes has always been in contradiction to another reality. The reality being that the desire to enroll in good colleges and acquire degrees is equally appealing. And in some cultures, the parents are ready to sacrifice their present for the future of their wards. As an example, we have the children of auto rickshaw drivers, of IS officers Megha Arora from Delhi and Ansar Sheikh Maharashtra, who were supported by their parents to invest in their ambition despite their means. We have the Generation Z icons, Ritesh Agarwal, only 24, a college dropout who started the famous Oyo Room, and Bhavin Turkia of Media.net, who's been a serial entrepreneur since he was 17 and with 9 earlier startups for Media.net. And these, mind you, are college and school dropouts. So, at another level, we all are aware that there is no better comparative advantage than that of a highly skilled human resource for any country to do well at the global scale. Why educate oneself if it lacks clarity? This is a question that is uppermost in my mind, or is either forgotten or is seen as irrelevant at a later date. Then why educate? Why does formal education continue to command more premium? Can continuous competency and skilling be the way forward instead of only relying on academic degrees? So, this evening, I shall ask my guest and viewers why these contradictions. At Visar, we offer skill-based technical and holistic trainings that are designed for competencies to be imbibed and applied in the course of one's professional life. While most of us are dealing with this conundrum in myriad ways, at Vayati Systems and Research, we decided to act on it. We present to you a number of guests from diverse backgrounds who will express their ideas on learning with anecdotes from their personal journeys. They will share how learning helped, or for that matter, did not help in their own growth and development. We also urge you to post your reactions and comments and engage with our guests for this evening, Kunal Gupta, Chief Executive Officer, eMotorrad, and Aditya Oza, Chief Marketing Officer and co-founder of eMotorrad. Thank you, Kunal and Aditya, for joining us today and agreeing to share your experiences on this show.
Thank you so much for having us, ma'am.
So I will quickly introduce the two of you. Kunal and Aditya are both civil engineers and fascinated with finance, and both classmates from their days enrolled in the infrastructure management program at the National Institute of Construction Management and Research. Both are graduates from some of the best technical institutions in the country, namely CEPT, that is CEPT Ahmedabad, and GNIEM Nagpur, which is Guru Nanak Institute of Engineering and Management, Nagpur. Now for highlights of Aditya and Kunal's learning and life journey over the past 5 to 6 years since they graduated from NICMAR. By the way, audience, they are young and under 30 years of age, in case you thought they aren't. So it's not really a very long journey, but a very action-packed journey, one can say. Aditya, as I remember him, was difficult to contain with his supernatural energy that ended up in even his words tumbling into the next, desperately trying to keep pace with his racing thoughts. He has an indefatigable desire to meet life and live life to its fullest. His academic records were not anything to write home about, as he constantly tried to remind me when at the institute. Yet he was a top 10% scholarship holder, I think, in a couple of trimesters, so to say. His love for football is quite legendary, wherein he led the university football team as captain and ended up in the top 16 football freestylers in India. And for you who don't know about this, please go check out a link on YouTube which is about football freestylers, to catch a glimpse of the 2018 Freestyle Football World Championships. It's serious stuff, as I realized when I watched a few reels of these tournaments myself. For all that dismissive attitude when it comes to his academic grades and extracurricular pursuits, in research, I can say for sure that he has a rare ability to engage with a problem until he's found plausible explanations to the phenomena. As a result, Aditya has published 2 to 3 papers in international conferences. Soon after PG, that is post-graduation, he joined Altair, a leading construction company in the Middle East, but only to give it up in favor of his first startup in building One Menu, a B2B2C, hospitality digitalizing venture in 2019. In 2020, he co-founded another startup, eMotorrad India and International. Aditya, having teamed up with his best mate, is experiencing entrepreneurship with whom he had spent years brainstorming ideas. Now let's turn to Kunal and find out what he did post-university days. I took Kunal next because I know between Aditya and Kunal has a different kind of a personality, quite polar opposite to what Aditya is. At NICMAR, Kunal served as the class representative of his batch, representing a bunch of excitable, entrepreneurial, and prodigal students. He was the recipient of continuous flack for the errant lot. And I know for sure how difficult it must have been to keep them together. They were gifted, talented, and an above average cohort waiting to burst on the professional scene. Kunal played the role of the mediator with quiet dignity and confidence, never once using the opportunity to further his own agenda. He was the quintessential cool, calm, and organized one of them all, along with his co-PR, of course, who's not here in the show, but I must give her that credit too. Incidentally, both Kunal and Aditya and another member of the group, who is a second-generation entrepreneur himself, completed a thesis project under my guidance, grappling with a problem related to service quality of the Mumbai Metro. They received straight A's for it. They were also enrolled in an elective course offered at the university, which I had designed and anchored, called Leadership and Entrepreneurship Development. The genesis of Kunal turning into a full-time entrepreneur began in reality while they were students at NICMAR. Their first venture was called My Ride Scooter Rentals. The startup was acquired by On Bikes, a Bangalore-based company where Kunal shifted as a co-founder and CEO. I'm not going to be giving you many details on why they started it because I'm going to wait for it to come from them. On Bikes grew rapidly from 1 city to 11 cities with a peak valuation of INR 250 crores and more, pre-pandemic valuation. With eMotorrad, Kunal is doing what he loves to do best, solve the world's mobility problems for a sustainable, greener, and cleaner future. So this is it about the two. And let me begin with my first question to both of you. Now, I leave it to you how you want to answer it, whether you want to do it together or you want to go one after the other, but or just one of you answering. I leave it right up to you. We just have a time constraint, and I think we should watch that at the side. So my first question has two parts, of course. It is, could you describe a key learning from your formal education days, either in school or whenever in your past, which has stayed with you? And the next question to that is, and also one from an informal situation, say with elders or teachers or relatives, having instilled something unique within you.
Okay. Right. So, do you want me to go ahead? Yeah. Why not? All right. Firstly, ma'am, thank you so much for such a gracious introduction. And I don't know how many viewers we have currently, but not all of them must be aware what role you have played in all of our careers, especially when it comes down to people who have worked with you closely, not only in class, but also during the thesis days. So thank you so much for inviting us as well. Next, ma'am, what you asked about the kind of skills that we developed in our school days, I think, I used to speak about this quite often with you. that back in the school days, I was not a good student when it comes to academics. And also, I used to probably do very average, or let's say below average at most of the things. So one of the skills that I developed, and I realized it very later in my life that I have developed it, was the skill to learn anything. So basically, it was learning how to learn was something that I developed. And I think it was a miraculous skill when it comes down to learning anything new, because when you know how to learn something, you can utilize it in so many different skill set that you want to adopt to. You can utilize it in so many different fashions. And when you look back at the fact that back in the days when you were actually learning anything new, the initial, so there's this book, I have actually written it down because I forgot. I read it very long back. It's called The First 20 Hours. So that those first 20 hours that you put into a skill is most important 20 hours. So another skill that I actually picked up and subconsciously picked up and realized was just knowing what should I be learning. So identifying the skills that I need to learn. So I was good at these two things. So I believe that helped. And secondly, like you asked, in a non-formal fashion or not in an educational fashion, what skills did we develop? So, ma'am, let me tell everyone the story of how IFDM won Chakravyu. Now you got this bunch of 60 people. Ma'am, it's very interesting to come from a point of view that a bunch of 60 people who were fighting against probably 1,000, 1,200 people across the college, university, and they end up winning at most of the things that we participated in. And nobody gave us a chance. So I think from there we learned, not just me, I think a bunch of us kind of came out as leaders. We excelled in certain field. And I think from that perspective, if you look at it, that was the start of the leadership that probably you also see in so many of my colleagues, so many of my ex-fellow students. And I see a lot of it in Kunal as well. So, yeah.
So I'll just add up to the second part of the question to this, ma'am. We talked about what skills did we learn from our either family, relatives, and teachers. I come from a community which is a Banya Marwadi community of the country. They have taught me something which is risk-taking ability, which is very important for any entrepreneur to take in. So I believe to start any venture or to jump to any venture, you should have two skills in place. One is numbers. Second is something which we have solely taught all over the world. You need to maintain relationships. My father has been teaching me all about relationships. Any business, anything you do in life, you have to maintain relationships with people, and that is what we are thriving on. So I hope that answers the second side of the question.
That's very good. Wonderful answers. Very new, very different. We are in the third Imaginal Talk episode, and I have not received answers like this till now. So that's wonderful. Let's go to the next question. Throughout your education, and especially a prescribed curriculum in engineering and construction management, can you say that you have been able to correlate most of what you learned there with what you have been doing in your professional life? Over to you.
Kunal, would you like to take this one? I think you have been correlating a lot of it lately.
So, ma'am, when I say for me, education is something like a swimming pool. You don't learn swimming without jumping on it. For me, entrepreneurship is that, right? So we had a lot of formal education, but we couldn't get to experience it. For the second side of it, I want to take it through a different journey. While we see in college, every time we were so excited when a guest lecture came in. The guest lecture never came in and taught us academics. They came in and taught us experiences, their own work experiences, life experiences. And that is where we learn a lot. So not denying the fact that college doesn't teach you the academic side of it. They give you a platform. What you learn is from your peers, what you learn is from your teachers, but the academic side of it is something which you learn from experiences, what I bank on till date. Yes, Adi.
Yeah, and also interestingly, ma'am, that was the reason why your classes had most of the attendance and others did not. And we have to come to you end of the day.
Right.
But yeah.
So,
okay.
When you say that is it relatable to what we are doing today? I'll say it is not completely relatable, but it still plays a fundamental role. So the fundamental of organizational behavior, the fundamental of marketing, the fundamental of international finance, something which we are corely implementing in our current business, have come from there. But the experience obviously plays a part when we will do a professional.
That's a good one. In fact, Aditya, this talk is not really to talk about what I did in the classroom, as much as what you all learned from then, and the fact that whatever we did then actually is whether actually it's an audit, whether any of that is helping you at all or not. So I feel the responsibility and the pressure of that all the time, Thanks for the answers. Again, very nice. What I'm doing is I also have to do my homework while the talk is on. So I'm noting down what you all are saying because I have to summarize the skills that you all are talking about at the end of the. So you have given me also some homework while on the job. Anyway, the next question is, in your professional journey, as the span of management or the job role changed, especially you, Aditya, when you were actually in the workplace, and you, Kunal, when you were moving from one startup to another, did you entirely drop some competencies, and which one were those?
Right. So, ma'am, for me, I was not just changing the workplace, as in switching the company. I was moving from a corporate experience to a startup experience. I was moving from getting a regular salary pay to probably paying others. So it was a drastic change that came through. But there were certain skill set that I picked up during those, which has helped me. So when it comes to work ethic, I think that has come through. When it comes to probably communicating, I think I have improved a bit there. When it comes to probably going out, speaking with different nationalities, working in diversity, that thing has been picked up. At the same time, certain skill set, although did not directly impact me or help me shift to startup world, they did help me when it comes to, let's say, they were the complementing skill set which came across. So although I wasn't using them as such directly, so negotiation, if you say, that is something that I learned on an international level. Coming down to India, negotiations are very different. If we'll talk about other competencies, probably, let's say waking up in the morning, I was probably better at that while I was in UAE. Now I have delayed it a little bit. So I used to wake up every day at 5:36. Now it's got a little late. But to be honest, there is no skill set that I have dropped as such. But I do believe that I am not using them as much as I used to, although they complement the other skill set which are currently in use.
Okay.
On this point, ma'am, I believe that you usually don't drop a skill set or a competence. Either you go pause it or you learn on, build on it. And that is what we have been doing. The role in the previous startup must be different, which made us do certain things which I as a CEO today cannot do, right? You cannot go out and talk whatever you were doing on the previous business. So that is how we have been graduating. So there is no drop in competency. It is more of a graduation in competency.
Yeah. Wow. Wonderful answer. That's very nice. So did you add certain specific skills that also comes out? Like if they were complement, can you pick up that, yes, this is something I didn't have earlier? Like Kunal, you kind of gave us of an idea on that, which you, of course, gave it in relation to dropping, but which you picked up actually, where you thought that, okay, this is a weakness or this is a blind spot for me, and better I consciously learn to do something. And the corollary of that is, did you acquire these new skills through training or learned them organically?
So, ma'am, being an entrepreneur, it is a daily learning curve. It is an everyday learning scenario for us. Coming to the point, what I learned from my last job to this job was weightage of pros and cons. When I say this, I am the CEO here and I need to learn almost all the aspects of the business. I need to learn marketing, I need to learn sales and business development, I need to learn technology, finance and all. So I know I don't get really skilled on that, but I still need to take a call or take a decision on it. When I say that, I need to understand what are the pros, what are the cons, and you have to put out a weightage to get the decision going. And that is something which I've acquired over a period of time, learning, reading books and listening to a lot of leaders around.
Right.
Okay. Now,
also to add to that, sorry, ma'am, but just to add to that, because I did not answer it last time around, the skills that I've kind of picked up was, so one of the reasons why I moved to entrepreneurship was also the zeal in me that was pushing me to say my competencies were not getting utilized. And to get those utilized, of course, there were certain skill sets which were untouched because they were not the requirement of the job that I was doing. So probably that risk-taking ability was more of my competency. Of course, it came throughout, but that had to be brought in. Pivoting is something that I have developed, and I have learned a lot from Kunal as well. So endless amount of challenges every day of the life, and there is always a solution that you have to come out with. You have to shift gears here and there and move, keep moving. Also, I think one of the skills that I developed on time is the agility. The agility to develop new skills, the agility to go out, try on different things. Because when you start up something new, there are endless amount of things that you have to do, which you probably are never trained for. Sometimes you have to actually read 18 hours a day because somebody is looking up to you tomorrow to tell them what they are supposed to do.
So can you give me an example, Aditya, which is that completely new effort that you made on yourself?
Ma'am, there are endless. Yeah, ma'am, there are endless. So if you'll talk about paid advertisements, I had no idea how paid advertisements work. Today I know that. If you'll talk about how organic marketing works, if you'll talk about that, so endless amount of influence marketing. Kunal keeps telling me about personal branding. So that is something that we both are currently trying to work on. So, ma'am, endless skills. Like probably if I'll keep naming, there will be all of them that I did learn.
So when you become an entrepreneur, the team looks up to you, right? For any and every question. You being a professor, you understand you are an entrepreneur in yourself, and everyone comes out with any random question possible. So you have to be confident enough at least to know a bit about it, or you have to be confident about, yeah, okay, give me some time, I'll go back, learn and tell you what is it. So that is what we are trying to do. Yeah.
Right. That's very important. That one can't, nowhere in life, in fact, and in certain positions like teaching and leading an organization, you can't bluff your way through. You will be held, at some point, you will be held to it. So
and
you just have to
your role to
yes, very interesting. So very good insights. I think it's going pretty well because a lot of new things that are coming up now. Because actually this talk is not to be just go on saying that education is very nice and everything is hunky-dory. It is something where we actually critically analyze where we are with education and what we can do to better it. So this is going to help us also at Vayati. Thank you. So I come to entrepreneurship. So if in the audience we have some youngsters, we have Generation Z, or we have some other millennials also. Can you cite a few examples of the few skills that you needed in entrepreneurship? You have already told me, Aditya, that you had to learn a few things, but very key things. Kunal, you also have actually spoken about this, but if you can just give a very specific 2 or 3 that
I'll name 3 which I believe are really important and which I try to inculcate in my everyday life. One is perseverance. You have to, if you are an entrepreneur, there's no going back. Once you have stepped up from the wheel, it is going to go up, it is going to go tough. Second is vision. A clear vision, a clear thought of what you want to do, how do you want to go about it. It can modify with time, but you have to stay up on your path. You need to know what mountain to climb. And the third is continuous learning. We are sitting in a dynamic situation today where everything is going so fast. The technology is changing so fast that if we don't keep up, someone else will go and beat us down to it. And so continuous learning is something we duly inculcate in our team as well. We have been putting out a lot of courses. We are learning from each other. We're trying to do in a very small team. We're trying to learn from each other a lot. So these are the 3 things: perseverance, vision, and continuous learning.
Fantastic. That's good.
Great. Yes, ma'am. I think I'm facing a little bit of network issue. Just let me know if you can't hear me. So, ma'am, 3 skills that I would say is essential. Of course, what Kunal said are equally relevant. But I think being an entrepreneur, you have to be a problem solver, and that is on a daily, regular basis because there are endless number of problems you're going to face. Second, I think that this has helped me a lot, and I think everyone should realize it. So learning how to learn a new thing could be an immense skill to develop. And lastly, probably discipline is something, ma'am, I would like to highlight. Because at times when you are an entrepreneur, nobody's asking you questions. You have to get things moving. You have to make sure the truck is pulled by yourself. So there is no one responsible but you. So I think that could be the third skill that impacts. And ma'am, you've always seen us as well. We were such a contradicting pieces of probably tendencies and values. So I think that's why we complement each other as well, and that has worked well for us.
Yeah, I think you'll fit together very well, like in a jigsaw. So each one complements the other. Yeah. And we need a team like that. Even entrepreneurs can't go it alone. You need a good core team with you, which thinks like you and is also willing to disagree with you, so that everything is for the better. So the intent has to be really good. That's so important. And that's the difference between entrepreneurship of the earlier times and current times. Earlier, the person used to say, I was like that and I did this and I did. Today, it's all we. So there's been a change in the nature of entrepreneurship also. Okay, so my next question is, which new skills do you think not only the promoters, but also the core team needs to possess to make it big on the startup scene? Because now you're both in the startup scene, and not just the two of you, your enthusiasm, or the third one, Raj, who is also your technical person, not just the three of you who started this, but also now that you're hiring and taking on other people for other roles. What should the core team, what should be the shared values, so to say, in strategic management, we learned about shared values. What is it that really should be there as part of the core team's skills, so to say?
So great question, ma'am. So it is really important for someone to understand not everyone out there will be a CEO, CMO, but they can play an equally important role in the team. So the core team needs to be aligned with the vision. When we say this, as we talked about, the dynamics is changing so fast. You have to understand that paths can be different, but the vision has to be same. The end goal has to be same, and that is where we come down. We have to communicate as a promoter. We have to communicate the vision. We have to inculcate that vision in the team very closely, and they have to understand that and adhere it. If people are not aligning to the vision, it gets very tough in a long run to sustain. Right. The second part being transparency. Now, transparency and ownership. So when we say everyone in a startup scene, ma'am, everyone is an entrepreneur. We never call them as an employee. They're not someone who's working under us. Everyone has their own ownership. Everyone literally has their own profit and loss statement to them. So right. So since you are you are owning your own department, you need to be absolutely transparent. Absolutely, you need to keep all your egos aside if you're going wrong. And that is one skill which is tough to have. If you are moving from a corporate, it is very tough to have that in yourself. So yeah, I believe ownership, transparency, and vision alignment is something which is very important.
I think Kunal has pretty much answered the question, ma'am. And this is one of the questions why he keeps rejecting all the candidates I keep bringing to him. So,
no, actually, yeah, it's. I agree with you. It's very, very important, because the derailment of any startup, they say for every one startup which is successful, there are thousands which have bitten the dust. Right. So it's actually the team that you put together that becomes a determinant of the longevity of the startup as well as the success of the startup. Yes, Aditya.
Yes, ma'am. And I think beyond that, probably hardly anything is left. But I'd say passion is something that should be there. If not every individual is not equally passionate, I think the wheel won't rotate at the same speed. And it's important for all the wheels to rotate at the same speed for us to move.
Right.
I also, because you all are such good friends, I also want to play the devil's advocate and ask you, what can be the spoilers of a good startup, especially when it is with close friends? Because we see so many good teams breaking up at some point in time. It happens with rock bands all the time, but we don't bother because rock bands. But with startups, it can be very tragic, right? So
it's a roller coaster, man. It is tough. I have been through this experience in a good way, in a bad way. Both. Luckily, we are doing whatever we are doing today successfully. The other co-founder, Mr. Rajiv, he's also a friend only. So we work very closely, and we have to understand that. Firstly, we need, being friends, we all know everything about each other, right? It doesn't happen in the professional life. So you have to keep your professional and personal separate. No matter how much we fight in the office, nothing has to go home. No matter has to work that way. Secondly, you have to complement your skill sets. It is as simple as that. If you're complementing your skill set, if you're bringing the same skills and values, somewhere down the line, it will hinder. It will tell you, yeah, nahi, this is not working out. And since it is a friend, you will be more vocal about it. Yeah, no, it is not going to work out. You are not adding up to my company or whatever. Right. So I think complementing skill sets, keeping your personal and professional aside, and being transparent, being honest to each other is something works out. It is working out for us pretty well. We trust each other a lot. So while there's a boon, there's a bane. Here we have a lot of trust on each other. So we can actually, if tomorrow I have to go on a 1 month leave, I don't have to think twice because I know my friend is going to take care of it and he'll understand my personal problem rather than anyone else doing it. Right. So that becomes a benefit to the having a friend on the team.
Interesting. Yes.
And I think also, ma'am, from the point of view of having a work relationship with a very close friend, it is important that both of them realize where to be personal, where to be professional. And so there are always times when we're partying and we are always discussing the business. So when we are out with our friends, they always are like, you guys keep discussing business all the time. But it is something that we enjoy, we love to do. So in a friendship, ma'am, it is only two things. It will go very well if you're working together, or it will be a disaster. Luckily for us, it's going very well. Yeah. So luckily for us,
with Kunal being around and the way I saw him handling, as I said earlier, also I saw him very closely handling several people. That you need that degree of calmness and everything, that dignity, that respect, everything. One needs to, again, it's a skill. One can cultivate that also. But yes, trust, I think, is the basis of any contract, as they say. And very, very interesting, because it's really very sad to see some fine minds that come together. They have something flashing and then it kind of just dies down. It feels very bad. It just doesn't go with my idea, where I feel every good idea should be taken to its logical conclusion. Now, I think we are coming to the end of this. So I have one or two more questions. In your, I think the next question you can take is, in your opinion, what are the differences between your generation and the older entrepreneurs in terms of skills and competencies? You can take me as an example. I was from service. I came into, I was an entrepreneur. I worked in for a few years. I'm back in entrepreneurship. So I'm the older generation. You can possibly compare me. And can you give some examples also along with, if you can't find what I'm doing as an example, you please quote some from somewhere else, because there are distinct cultures in the way we work. Right. The earlier generations worked in a different manner. The other generation has a different cultural ethos. So if you can just touch upon this quickly.
I believe accessibility, with all the internet boom coming into play, we have a lot more accessibility as what two previous entrepreneurs had. We have a global exposure, ma'am. Whenever we plan something, we as a small company sitting in a small office in Pune, we still can plan launching different countries. How can we do that? Is just because of the internet's power. We can actually sell a product sitting out of here. Similarly, we have a much more higher risk-taking appetite. Why I say that? Because we have a better experience in terms of different domains of what we can learn online. With platforms like Unacademy and Byju's coming into play, tomorrow developing no skill or learning no skill as per se is tough, right? For us, previously it was not available. No one can afford, an entrepreneur cannot afford to invest. Oh. Am I back? Oh, sorry. An entrepreneur cannot afford, in the midst of his journey, to take a break, go to college, develop a skill and come back, right? Today that can actually be done on the sidelines of it. So that is the accessibility we have. We get to learn from the best minds of the world. We can actually write a mail down to them, which previously not possible. So I think that is the best way. We have an easy access there, but a lot more competition. So it becomes tough for us because there's a lot more competition.
Right. Ma'am, I also think very interestingly, back in the days when I have a couple of mentors who started back in 1980s, 70s, and they have done drastically good throughout their career. Back in the days when you started a business, you were actually fighting for your bread next day. That doesn't happen with us today. We know if we don't perform here, there is always an opportunity that will come up or we'll pick it up later on. But that was a big fear. also there's a backing portion that comes through. So most of our generation, the previous generation, was very savvy when it came to money. So everyone had I won't say everyone because I am an example who did not, but most of us had certain kind of family backing which came through. So for you, if you look, it was important to, probably get a house, get married at certain age. Certain things were obligation, also a customary thing that's coming from society. We kind of break that chain. And today, if you look at us, most of the people who step into this world are a little bit crazy in that aspect. So they will usually, certain examples, they usually get married pretty late in life. They will probably not be saving as much, invest a lot of their income into probably paying others. So yeah.
Also,
that's a typical millennial trait that is covered in the book also.
Yeah. Just adding up a point to it, India's GDP has been growing since years now. So we have a lot more disposable income. When a disposable income comes to a country, you get to see a lot more opportunities. So for all our viewers, we would like to say never be scared of not getting a job. There are immense opportunities. You just need to find the right place for you. So that is
and grow the right skill set for those jobs. So, yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that was always a fear when it came to our generation, where if you failed in entrepreneurship, the society kind of looked down upon you. But now it has changed. Startup, failure, another startup, and nobody says it's a bad thing to do it as much as it was.
Good for us that people like you, highly professors and deans like you, have been celebrating small entrepreneurs like us. And it is a boon. Like, people actually get inspired by this and take it forward. Previously, it was not there.
Yes. We generally wanted to just have our students being placed in big companies and being employed. But I was never of that opinion. I always thought it's good to struggle and start your own little thing. It is a different liberation altogether. Anyway, so the next question is, I would like to focus your attention for the larger problems that surround us, such as risks in environmental sustainability, youth skill development and unemployability of Indian youth, growing digitalization and the digital divide, as we say, that comes with it, or fair access to economic development, or the role of stakeholders, what they want and what we should be thinking of. Do you think entrepreneurship will be preferred in the alleviation of these global problems, and in which areas and in which manner? So those are the skills that we have to look at, because these are huge problems that face the world. And I think sustainability, e-mobility that you have been interested in from the beginning is about urban sustainability and environmental sustainability. So there are the other problems that I have mentioned again. I'll repeat if you want: youth skill development and unemployability, or digitalization, or fair access to development, or the role of stakeholders and their needs. So how will you think? How do you think entrepreneurship will help solve some of these problems?
Okay. There are multiple things. And first of all, entrepreneurship is the way. It is the only way to do it. Is what we believe. It is 110% the only way. We'll take one skill at a time. When we say unemployability, it is more or less just because now people just come up with either a degree but no skills. When we say it is only a degree, it is a blank degree. When people come, they're not able to present, they're not able to subject one particular skill. I believe it is because the students are treated something like an object on an assembly line. Being very harsh here, but then they become a part of it and they just treat it in the same way. So if a class has 50 students, all 50 students are taught the same subject in the same way, and there's no skill development. Everyone has a different set of mind. So with the new educators, what the Western world is already doing, people get to choose their own subjects, people get to experience their own subjects, people get to choose their own teachers, and that is how you enjoy. I believe education has to be something like a video game. When I say video game, you get to choose your game and you get to enjoy it. And learning is equal to fun. Learning synonymous fun. If you are not enjoying it, you are not going to learn no matter what. And I strongly believe that is how we are going to upgrade ourselves by learning. We have a lot of good platforms. Again, repeating the platforms, Unacademy, Byju's, and a lot more coming into the game, which are teaching you in a fun way, which are helping you understand the actual applications of it, right? And that is what is needed for the future. Adi, can you take up the second skill?
I think, ma'am, I would like to go back to certain things which are so fundamental and it's so flawed in our education system itself. Ma'am, why should somebody go to college after completing their 12th, or should do in certain years of time, whatever 12, 14 years we study? It is solely based upon how much time an individual take to learn a new skill. Now, a certain set of skills that I'm interested in learning, there are two problems here, ma'am. Firstly, the education system considers that everyone will take equal time to learn equal skills, which is so wrong. Second big issue, if you look at it, ma'am, there are certain ways of learning skills which could be different for you, me, Kunal, any individual. Probably you learn better visually. I learn better by probably listening to a podcast. Kunal learns better by probably reading a book. So why not give different multiple mediums for every individual to learn and grow at its own pace? And I think when these two things will come about, then only the entire value set of skills development will probably enhance in the country. Ma'am, that being said, I want to talk about three more things I wrote down because Kunal mentioned it interestingly. Ma'am, skill development, entrepreneurship, these problems are all interrelated. Let's talk about back in the days when computers came. Now, let's say you wash a dish or you probably fly a jet plane. Both involve certain set of skill sets and both can be learned. Just that complexity is different. So when you will talk about developing the certain skill set, when computer initially came, that was a skill. So from the core definition itself, ma'am, skill is probably the ability to do something well. So when you look at it, if you can probably fly a jet plane, if you do it well, then it's a skill for you. Or probably if you can do certain parts of it well. Going forward, ma'am, you'll see.
In fact, if I can just intervene here, Aditya, there is an example of Amol Yadav, a fellow who built an aeroplane on the rooftop of the building in Mumbai, and for 7 years after that was trying to get a license and to start up his company to make that, and he's still kind of floundering on that. And then we have another fellow in Hisar, Haryana, whose mother, he's just a farmer, and his mother and parents, everybody helped him with a motorbike engine to help fly his plane. So there is a lot of this innovation, this desire to do something. So he flew his mobile engine driven plane for up to about 1,000 feet or something, 2,000 feet. So there is a lot of this, but as you correctly said, over a period of time, something new becomes ubiquitous, and so something new again needs to develop. So new skills come out of the older ones, which become competencies. And like our little child teaches me how to use a computer because he's grown with it or she's grown with it, and I didn't have it in my childhood. So very important, very pertinent point. Yes, sorry I interrupted you, but the flying and planes.
That's interesting to know, ma'am. So I was making a point here, ma'am, that back in the days, back in 90s, if you could do Microsoft Word in your computer, that was a skill. Today, everybody does that. So probably that's not a skill. Moving forward, everyone will evolve, develop new skills. But entrepreneurship is going to give a path of utilization of those skills. It's going to open up ways where people can come and implement those skills to probably solve certain issues. And I think that is going to help go out and solve major problems of the world. Today, people like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos are speaking of taking all the industries to Mars and probably just staying here on planet Earth. I think that's fantastic when you look at it.
In fact, talking of the entrepreneurial skills, I feel that is the only way which will help us survive in the future. Because even when I was in service, I decided I will not be, if I can't be an entrepreneur, as in take the financial risk for the organization because I'm only an employee there. I would be intrapreneurial. That means come up with new ideas, come up with new products, develop my brand of human resource so well that they are out in the market, they can do what they have to for society and so on and so. So being intrapreneurial or entrepreneurial, it's just a state of being, and that's, I think, what will keep us going in the future also. So entrepreneurship or intrapreneurship, either ways, I think that's what is the. I think we might have to, Pallavi, go 5 minutes beyond, but I'll quickly summarize what the duo has been saying up till now. There are lots of skills that they spoke about, and honestly, I personally have derived a lot of takeaways from this. And I'm not joking, because the stuff that you'll have applied yourself to education is really very good to see. And perhaps because you'll have just graduated and not be 20, 30 years beyond. Perhaps that has helped. But some things that I can summarize as takeaways are that I'll start from the last, because I like that line. Education can be like a video game. So it has to be customized, and the game gets played as per the level of difficulty and the level of interest that the player has with the game, and is completely then immersed and engaged with the game. Okay. Then students should not be treated as an assembly line. So going forward, we need something more, which is not a one size fits all, but a more customized way of looking at education. So, luckily, we are a bit on track when it comes to Vayati. I think we found the pulse there. And a few other things that I found is that, of course, you all are eager learners. You want to learn new things, and you're investing time in ensuring that you all are continuously up to date. You have spoken about the pitfalls of what friendship and entrepreneurship can be for startups, and you'll consciously try to avoid those two things, and by being professional and leaving the personal aside. So good. Then, of course, shared values. You like a team which is full of beans, so to say, full of enthusiasm, and who take ownership. Very important. And for that to happen, you'll are always providing the transparency that they seek also as in the process. And you all are disciplined as entrepreneurs. You all are learning how to discipline yourselves in that. And what I picked up from Kunal is it's not the things are different. I mean, there are the same jobs that everybody has to do, but how much weightage you assign to certain decision or a problem on hand, that becomes the key to deciding the success of whatever you have taken up in your. And of course, I like what Aditya said about what he's learned in the Gulf, which is managing diversity and working with different cultures because of that, learning how to negotiate, again, a cultural difference when it comes to India and abroad, and communicating better. So, Aditya, I must say, you didn't speak so fast and your words did not fall into the other. You were pretty articulate. So, I think something has happened in communication since I last knew you. So, thank you, Pallavi. I think, Pallavi, you can take over now.
Thank you, ma'am. It was a wonderful conversation. A lot of takeaways. For me, I like the statement from where Aditya started. The skills to learn is the most important skill nowadays. And the skill which Kunal has mentioned, that risk-taking ability. I'm sure everyone, some point in time think about, I should start something of my own. But that risk-taking capacity is not there in everyone. So that's where they lack. I can see there is a lot of curiosity in our viewers to know about your journey. From where did you get this idea and how did you start and what kind of challenges you face? Because being a very young faces of the company, when you put up an idea to someone like an investor, how do they take you? I mean, are they taking your idea? They're just because many times it happens when you're very young, people like, you have a lot of dreams and that's how you're talking about. So can you just give us briefly, can you tell us how you have reached to this level?
Okay. Do you want to take it up?
Yeah, I would like to start for it, Kunal, and probably you'll be the best person to answer this because you've been facing so many investors lately. Pallavi, interestingly, most of the billion-dollar startups or very successful startups are founded by less than 30 years old in the country, not only in the country, worldwide. So I think probably investors already know that if something magical is to come, it doesn't have an age factor to it. So yeah, Kunal, you can take up from here.
Yeah. So I believe the best entrepreneurship idea comes with the problem which is nearest to you. And that is where my entrepreneurship journey had started. I founded the first company we founded together, which is called MyRide, which we founded in our college. What did we do? We were sitting in 2014, where the penetration of Ola and Uber was not very high. and it was too costly for a college student to afford also. There was a cafe which was closer to a college, but there was nothing else apart from that, and no Swiggy and Zomato back then. So everyone in the college used to go to that cafe, even though it didn't serve good food, because you understand the college mess side of it. So we were like, yeah, okay, we need to provide accessibility to these all the students, and that is where we came up with the concept of providing them bikes. We brought in some money and bought some second-hand bikes and put out in the college, and did a bit of WhatsApp marketing back then. That okay, we have started this service. If you want to go to say 5 kilometers, or if you want to go to watch a movie, or if you want to go to Lonavala from Pune, you can take up our bikes and go around. To our amazement, it was highly successful. We started with 5 bikes. By the end of 2 years, we were sitting at 52 bikes at our own cost, and we are enjoying a lot of money as well back then. So we earned a lot of it. We were actually doing business in midst of our classes, just between the classes, running, asking them, "Ma'am, can we just walk out of the class?" Going, handing over the keys, and we've done all sorts of things. But that is the whole enjoyment part of it, and that is where we personally started our journey. From there to going to a professional career, it was all about setting up a new city, setting up a new place, building the whole organization. We started with, again, one small office in Bangalore, grew it to 11 cities, like 6,500 plus bikes. So from managing 50 bikes to 6,500 bikes pan India, and that too technologically. So before, since we don't come from a technology background, we were more of a civil engineer. My personal exposure to technology and marketing was in my professional career, where I learned a lot about it, and we understood the fact that nothing in today's world, nothing can be scaled without technology's interference, and that is the core skill we learned there. A pretty good journey, handled more than 200 people in an organization, pretty good learning curve. And from there, from the mobility segment, we were doing IC engines there. We understood that what is the future. Every single day we thought, we need to bet on the future. We need to understand, if you are being an entrepreneur, you need to work on something which is going to benefit you 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, and not today's problem. And that is where we researched and came out to the point that, okay, EV and electric infrastructure and electric mobility is the way to go. And that is where we joined hands with my teammate, Mr. Rajiv and Aditya, wherein we started exploring various countries. We traveled to Europe, US, and we understood what are the matured markets. How are they taking up electric mobility? We came back to India, went on the drawing board, made all the business models possible, went to China, went to other countries, understood the models, came back, made a product in India, and started placing it. Now that we have placed it, we have been rationally successful by now. We're doing pretty good business in India by now. For our viewers to assign, we're just launching Dubai on the 1st of July. So that's a good news for us. In 3 months, we're launching Africa. So the 2 parallel countries along with India, and growing Indian market. We've just grown our team to 50 plus employees, and doing 3 countries. So it's a good achievement for us. So that is how my small journey has been, and it has been an interesting journey. Looking forward to a lot more.
That's great. Wonderful. So we have a lot of compliments for today's talk. I'll show a few of those.
Wow.
It's from Dr. Rajiv Gupta. Thank you for an interesting talk. Both your guests are articulate entrepreneurs who created the right bonhomie in this talk. Wishing them success and greater achievement in their chosen path. And he also has one question for you. So he missed the initial introduction. So he would like to know the seed capital you guys had for your venture.
Right. So while we were starting this particular venture, the latest one, there were 2 avenues. One, we were doing certain international business. When we say international business, we have one skill set which mostly other countries don't have, which is sales. We Indians are excellent sellers. So we were doing certain international business. We had certain exposure to that. And that is where, from our businesses, I had a fairly successful last startup exit. From where we gathered some money. Aditya was coming from Dubai, so he gathered some, and our third partner who gathered the major chunk, who was doing some international sales. So we got down together and put in some money, and luckily we are self-sustainable by now, although we are raising funds to fund our expansion plan, but then we're running the business at a good scale today.
Okay, that's great. So we are come to an end of today's session. Awesome. It's already 1 hour over. Okay, so on behalf of YT Systems, I thank you, Mr. Aditya and Mr. Kunal, for joining us for this evening, and to all our viewers.
Thank you so much, Pallavi.
Thank you so much, Pallavi. Thank you, ma'am, for having us.
That's great.
It was
So there's a good
wonderful.
news for all our viewers. If you have missed some part of the sessions or unable to join due to some reason, the recording will be available on our official YouTube channel in few days. Please do not forget to grab a copy of Millennials Poised to Lead from Amazon or Vayati Systems and Research website. Stay tuned with Vayati for more exciting discussions ahead. Do follow us on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook for all upcoming event details. Till then, goodbye, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay home. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you,
ma'am.
Pallavi.
Thank you, Pallavi.
Thank you, Kunal, Aditya. It was wonderful. Thank you.
Same here, ma'am.
for being
Great
here.
speaking with you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us.
Take care. Stay safe.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.